Daniel and Claire's marriage is introduced as a once strong relationship that has slowly eroded over the years. Daniel is consumed by his work, often working late into the night on architectural projects that demand his full attention. He loves Claire, but his passion for his career has overtaken his passion for their marriage. Claire, meanwhile, spends her days taking care of their home and pursuing her part-time career as a photographer, a passion she had to put on hold when Daniel's career took off. The story begins with Claire sitting alone in their spacious, modern home. It's a Friday evening, and Daniel has just texted that he'll be working late again. Claire gazes out the window, watching the rain pour down, feeling a deep sense of loneliness. She reminisces about the early days of their relationship, when they couldn't keep their hands off each other and when every day felt like an adventure. Now, everything feels routine, and Claire is questioning whether this is what the rest of her life will be like. She tries to talk to Daniel about it when he finally comes home, but is exhausted and distracted. He reassures her that things will get better after his current project is finished, but Claire has heard that promise too many times before. She goes to bed feeling unseen and unheard, while Daniel falls asleep at his desk, surrounded by blueprints and sketches. The next day, Claire receives a call from Elena Ruiz, her childhood best friend whom she hasn't seen in years. Elena has just moved back to town after a difficult divorce and wants to reconnect. They meet for coffee, and it's like no time has passed. Elena is vibrant, full of life, and unapologetically herself. She talks about her travels, her new job as a yoga instructor, and how freeing it has been to finally live life on her own terms. Claire is envious of Elena's freedom and self-assurance. As they talk, Claire opens up about her marriage, about how she feels neglected and unfulfilled. Elena listens empathetically but encourages Claire to take control of her own happiness. "You can't wait for Daniel to make you happy, Claire," Elena says. "You have to find that happiness for yourself." Inspired by Elena's words, Claire begins to make small changes in her life. She starts focusing more on her photography, taking on new projects that challenge her creatively. She also begins to prioritize herself, spending more time with Elena and rediscovering the passions she had long buried beneath the responsibilities of marriage. Daniel notices the changes in Claire, but is too preoccupied with his own stress to fully understand what's happening. He assumes that Claire is just finding new hobbies to occupy her time and is relieved that she seems happier. Little does he know that Claire's growing independence is also leading her to question their relationship. As Claire grows closer to Elena, Daniel begins to rely more on Logan Spencer, his business partner and best friend. Logan has always been the confident, charismatic one in their partnership, and he often acts as the mediator when Daniel gets too wrapped up in his work. Lately, though, Logan has been paying more attention to Claire. Logan and Claire have always been friendly, but there's an undeniable chemistry between them that has never been explored. Logan is charming and attentive, everything that Daniel isn't right now. When they meet at a company event, Logan compliments Claire on her photography and listens intently as she talks about her latest projects. He makes her feel seen and appreciated in a way that Daniel hasn't in years. Over time, Logan and Claire's interactions become more frequent. They exchange texts, share inside jokes, and meet for coffee under the guise of discussing business. It's innocent at first, but there's an underlying tension that neither of them can ignore. Claire feels guilty, but she can't help being drawn to Logan's warmth and attention. Daniel, meanwhile, is oblivious to the growing connection between his wife and his best friend. He's consumed by work and believes that as long as Claire seems happy, everything must be fine. But Claire's internal conflict is intensifying. She loves Daniel, but she's no longer sure if love is enough. Logan represents everything that's missing in her marriage: excitement, passion, and emotional intimacy. The tension reaches a breaking point when Daniel and Claire go on a weekend getaway in an attempt to reconnect. It's Daniel's idea, and he's determined to make it work. He books a cabin in the mountains, far away from the distractions of work and daily life. Claire agrees to go, but she's skeptical. She's not sure if a weekend away is enough to fix what's broken. The getaway starts off awkwardly. Daniel is trying too hard, and Claire is holding back, afraid to let herself be vulnerable. They spend their days hiking and their evenings sitting by the fire, but the connection they once had feels distant and strained. One night, after a few glasses of wine, the conversation turns serious. Claire finally opens up about how she's been feeling about the loneliness, the neglect, and her doubts about their future. Daniel listens, but instead of being defensive, he admits that he's been struggling too. He confesses that he's been using work as an escape because he's been afraid to face the issues in their marriage. For the first time in a long time, they have an honest conversation about their relationship. They talk about their fears, their regrets, and their hopes for the future. It's a raw and emotional moment, but it also brings them closer. For the first time, they both acknowledge that they've been drifting apart and that it will take real effort to rebuild what they've lost. Just as things seem to be turning a corner, Claire receives a message from Logan. He misses her and wants to meet. Claire is torn. She's just had a breakthrough with Daniel, but her feelings for Logan are still there. She knows that seeing him would be dangerous, but part of her craves the connection they've built. Claire confides in Elena, who urges her to be honest with herself and with Daniel. "You can't keep living in this gray area, Claire," Elena says. "You need to decide what you really want." With a heavy heart, Claire decides to meet Logan one last time to end things. They meet at a quiet cafe, and Claire tells him that she can't continue their relationship. Logan is disappointed but respects her decision. He tells her that he'll always care about her, but he understands that she needs to focus on her marriage. Afterward, Claire feels a sense of relief, but also a lingering sadness. She returns home to Daniel and tells him everything about her feelings for Logan, about the emotional affair, and about her decision to end it. Daniel is hurt and angry, but he also realizes that he hasn't been blameless in their relationship. He confesses that he's been emotionally distant and that he's contributed to the problems in their marriage. They both agree that their marriage won't be easy to repair, but they're willing to try. They decide to go to counseling, to rebuild the trust and intimacy that they've lost. It's a long road ahead, but they're committed to walking it together. The story ends with Daniel and Claire sitting on their porch, watching the sunset. They're not the same people they were when they first got married, and their relationship isn't perfect. But they've learned that love is more than just a feeling, it's a choice, and it's something they're both willing to fight for. As they sit in comfortable silence, Daniel reaches over and takes Claire's hand. It's a small gesture, but it speaks volumes. They've been through so much, but they're still standing. They're still together. And that's enough. Conclusion. It has the emotional depth and complexity to engage viewers for a longer period, with moments of tension, introspection, and resolution. By focusing on the internal struggles of the characters and the evolving dynamics of their relationships, the story maintains its intrigue and emotional resonance throughout.